Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jared Kedner. I am a Senior Systems Specialist with Unique HR. First off, I'd like to welcome you to the session of webinar training for our new portal. We're very excited to have you join us today. The new portal will be launching in spring of 2024, and we will announce an official go-live date in the upcoming weeks. Today's webinar session will be focused on the employee list section of the portal, as well as eHire entry. This webinar, along with all future webinars, will be recorded and available for review at a later date. Please have patience with us as we edit these and get them uploaded. If you have any questions today, please use the Q&A feature. We will have a moderator who reviews and responds back to these messages. If our moderator cannot answer everything today, we will follow up with you afterwards via email. And if you think of any additional questions after the webinar is over, please reach out to clientrelations@uniquehr.com. With all of that said, let's go ahead and jump into today's session. And first things first, as we jump into a new portal, we will have to log into that portal. This is what the login page looks like. It is as simple as entering your username and your password. When you select login, you will see there is the option to use a challenge question or send verification code. If you select send a verification code, you have the option to use either a cell phone number to receive a text or use an email address to receive your verification there. I'm going to go ahead and use the challenge question and enter the answer here. Now that I'm logged in, you'll see a quick disclaimer. If you have any other notices that you need to agree to before viewing your dashboard, they will pop up there and you can click agree after reading. And this is the home dashboard. This is where you're always going to come back to whenever you start the click the home buttons in either of these sections here. It is important to note that all navigation will be done primarily using the left-hand side over here, the navigation menu. It is very similar to our current setup. You can toggle through the different sections here. If they are expandable via a little caret here, you can expand on that and click on those sections as well. Again, if you ever need to get back to the home dashboard after you've gone into a different section of the portal, you can select home over here at the top left hand section or the house icon up at the top of the menu bar. First thing you'll notice on the dashboard is all of these different little sections that have information and some colorful charts and graphs. Each one of these individual sections is called a widget. You can actually grab them and drag them around if you want and customize it to your liking. On each widget, you can actually click into that and it'll take you to a specific section. For example, this would take me to any pending payrolls. This would take me to any eHires that are pending. Again, it is fully customizable. You can move them around however you like. I accidentally clicked on one there and opened it up. Let me go back home here. And if you move any around or hide any, which you can do by clicking the little three dots here, if you toggle it off, it will hide the widget. If you need to add any widgets back that you've turned off, or if you have any that weren't turned on and you want to turn on in the first place, you can go to the first button here, the little green plus symbol. If you hover over the question mark, it will tell you what the button does. If you click the button, it will show you what widgets you have available to add back to the screen. I'm not going to add this one back quite yet because I want to show you what one of the other buttons do. Here on the third button, we're going to go ahead and skip this button for now. Third button is compress grid. This is a useful feature if you're trying to move around the different widgets and you're not quite liking the way it is and there's some empty space. If you click this third button, it compresses everything automatically for you and cleans it up a little bit. Now we'll look at the second button here. Again, if you hover over the question mark, you will be able to see what this button does. It is the option to save layout as default, as your new default view. If you click on this button, it will save your new layout. However, I want to show you what this last button here does. This one, it looks like a little reverse icon, but what it actually does is it resets your layout to the default before you made any adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead and click that here. And it will delete any saved layout you have, gives you a warning there. I'm going to go ahead and confirm, and you'll see everything just pop back to the way it was when we first opened the dashboard. There are a few other things I do want to cover on the dashboard here before we jump into the employee section. Up at the top next to the home icon, there is a useful support and help document section. If you were to click on this, it will take you to a landing page with numerous help documents going over the payroll process. These are all provided by the website vendor, so they're always going to be up to date and accurate. Next to that, you see it shows our demo client name and our demo client ID. If you expand the dropdown, you'll see the option to change company. This is useful for any of you who have multiple company IDs with us and you need to toggle back and forth between those different companies. All you have to do is select change company and you'll have a list of your available here. And it's as simple as clicking on your the company you want to access and then clicking OK. Also under this section here is the contacts section. If you click on this, it will display your primary contacts for your payroll, HR, and benefits. It'll have our office phone number as well as your individual specialist email address. If you ever cannot reach your individual representative, please feel free to call us and we'll be more than happy to have somebody else jump on and help you out. Over here on the far right section, this is where you can adjust your login settings. So this is our login the demo client. If I click on the settings there, you can toggle in to receive text message alerts. You can adjust your email address for email alerts, change your password, and change any challenge questions you have upon logging in. It is important to note if you make any changes here, you do need to click the save icon on the bottom right over here. I'm going to jump back to the dashboard here, and there's just a couple little things I want to show you before we finally jump into the employee section. Up on the left-hand side here, it is a very useful search bar. If you're ever trying to get somewhere in the portal and you do not know the exact path to get there, or you can't remember exactly where it was, if you start typing for, let's say you're looking for the employee list and you start typing employee, what you can do is it'll bring up all of the pages, relevant pages and reports that contain the keyword that you typed. So you'll see employee list here. That's what I was looking for. I could click on that and it'll take me right there. Last but not least, before we actually jump into the employee section, is the employee global search. This is going to apply primarily to any of the users who do have multiple company logins, as I discussed earlier. You can actually search for your employees here across all of the different company IDs you have here. So you can search by client number or name, the employee's number or name, or the social security number. I'm going to search here just for John, for example, hit search. And you'll see any employees that had that string of characters will pop up for me. Now let's go ahead and jump into the employee section, which is the bulk of what we're covering today. Now you'll notice when I expand employees over here on the left-hand side, you will see the employee list section, which of course it is self-explanatory. That is where the employee list is that houses all of the information for each employee. There is the employee onboarding section, which that is where all the eHire and employee entry will be taking place, which we will cover shortly after we jump into the employee list. Now that I've opened the employee list here, there are a few things I want to cover before I jump into the individual employees. You'll see there is a print option here. You can click on this and you can print anything to Excel, or print this list, excuse me, to Excel, CSV, PDF, or just a printer-friendly file. There's also the settings options here where you can toggle on the different columns for the employee list. So for example, I'm going to add email here. Once I save, you'll see that email has popped up over here, and any employees that have that information filled out will show up here on that section. There is also the add button, which I just clicked there, and it actually does take me over to the employee onboarding section. So you can add employees directly from the employee list if you so choose, but if you know you're going to be adding employees, you can often just get there via employee onboarding. I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the employee list. Other things you can do while in the employee list, you can filter via the status of the employees, varying from active, active pending, hire in progress, all the way to termed employees. If you filter that way, it will only show employees under that status. I'm going to switch back to all status here. You can filter by department as well here to filter down via the various departments. And then we do have an employee search feature where as soon as you start typing, it begins automatically filtering down based on the string of characters I've typed. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and actually jump into the employee card section. So we're going to look at John Doe here, and you can access this employee's information by either clicking on the little blue eye next to his name over here on the right, or if you double click his name. So you'll see there is a lot of information in this section here. There are multiple tabs which each have their own different section of information. I'm going to kind of go through them one by one really quick here. First is the profile, has all the general information, the employee statuses, the pay rates, I-9 information. Important to note, down at the bottom, you can see that there are two buttons. We're going to look at the edit button here first. If you were to click edit, you'll notice that some of these sections now have lines underneath them. These indicate the sections that you can edit and adjust yourself. Important to note, if you're adjusting the pay rate using the edit function, it will adjust the rate based on the date that you're changing it. So if I was to make this change here and click save, it would adjust based on today. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel here and show you how to edit a future pay change. Again, it's the other button right here, and this button is strictly for editing future pay rates. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it here. And then once I go into the hourly rate section here, I'm going to change it to 20 for example. And then once you click save, since I'm doing future pay, it will ask me what the date is that I'd like this change to take effect. I'm going to select the 29th here. I'm going to click submit. Now that I've submitted that change, you'll notice that there are actually two pending future changes here. There was one before I actually made that change, so we'll take a look at those. The one that I just changed was the effective date 1/29/2024. So this one here is old and not accurate anymore. So if that is ever the case, you can always remove it by selecting this cancel change. Again, it'll tell you the type of change that is happening, the effective date, who made the change, and the date that it was created. I'm going to go ahead and remove this one because it is no longer accurate since I made the new one. And once you do that, it asks for your reason for cancellation. And you can put whatever you want here and then hit submit. And now we're back to just the one pending future change. I'm going to go ahead and jump through these tabs as well. A lot of these tabs as we go will be sort of view only, as it's employee pertinent information and things that they should be able to change on their own. So there's the tax setup, which will show federal W-4 information. We have the direct deposit section here, which of course shows where they're getting their paychecks and the direct deposit info. This is the time off section. And this is going to be mainly relevant to you if you are tracking PTO with us. If you are, you can of course see the balances. We have a neat tool here where you can view future balances and calculate any future balances based on another date. We have the scheduled pay feature. This would be something if there is a recurring pay type for an employee, such as a car allowance or a bonus that is repeating. You can choose the pay type here. I'm going to choose bonus for this purpose, and then you can choose the periods in which it will repeat. If you make that change, you can choose the pay amount, any tracking levels that need to go with that pay type, and then click save, and there is now a scheduled pay for this employee. Here is the deduction section. It will display only the employee's deductions, and you can see them all over here. The employee also has access to this information, of course. There is the dependents and beneficiaries section. If they had any dependents or beneficiaries, you could view them here. The events tab here is useful for adding things such as certifications. You can create event templates and have reminders and other such things so that you get notifications if, let's say, a certification is expiring or needs to be renewed coming up. You can create notices based on that. Over here is the attachment section. This is where you can upload employees' documents and where any employee documents would be housed. If they had any, you could click on them here and view them. If you need to add them, you can always select the add button. You can name the type of document, choose the category under which the document would fall, and of course, leave a description of the document. This box here, if you check it, this will allow the employee to also view the document. It is up to you if you want to check that or not. And then of course, you can name the file and then upload the file that you so choose. After doing all that, again, make sure that you are selecting save down in the bottom right-hand corner over here. I'm going to jump into the check section here. This is a very simple one. It's where they can view their employee check stubs. So if they want to view, or if you want to view a check stub, you can select the check date that you want to view, click on the little blue eyeball icon, and a pop-up will pop up with all of that check stub information here for you. Again, employees will have access to this on their end as well. This year-to-date tab is very self-explanatory. It just has all of their year-to-date information so far for their earnings, deductions, and taxes. The W-2 tab here is a section that will host their W-2s once we have them processed and uploaded to the system. We then have the allocation section, which is a very neat feature we have here. This can be used to allocate percentages of pay to an employee based on a department, location, or project. Any tracking levels that we create, we can allocate to the employee here for you. So if you're interested in this, again, reach out to client relations at uniquehr.com and we can follow up with more information. Then last but not least on the tabs is the multiple pay rates tab. This of course can be used if, let's start one here just as an example. I'm going to choose the dates of the 7th through the 27th here. And I'm going to add a pay rate. This would be if you have an employee who needs a separate pay rate if they're doing a specific job or working at a specific location or in a specific department. So here we're going to look as if they're working in sales and they're working on project test here and they're using their regular, let's see, hourly code, we can choose the pay rate at which they get paid if they're using or if they're under this department and at this project. So it's just a useful tool for anybody who needs a multiple pay rate for doing a special job or anything like that. So we can completely customize this here for you. Again, if you do this, make sure you hit save and that multiple pay rate will save for you. One thing I did not cover, I want to point out here at the top right, when you're in an employee section here, you can actually cycle through the different employees. That way you don't have to go back to the list. However, you can go back to the list if you so choose and just select another employee. Next, we're going to go ahead and jump into the employee onboarding section. Again, you could get there by selecting the add employee from the employee list, but I'm going to navigate there through the employee onboarding here. Once I go to the section, you'll see there is already an employee in here, which we will look at here in just a moment. But first, I'm going to show you how to add an employee. So it's as simple as clicking the add button here. For onboarding process, we're going to be choosing the eHire option, which this is the electronic onboarding section. And then we're going to enter a social security number here. And we'll go next, and then it's a matter of filling out these different screens of information. It is all standard practice onboarding information that we would need, including employee status. If you ever try to go to the next field without entering a required field, it'll give you this message. You can click OK, and then it will highlight in red the required fields. So these are the absolute mandatory fields before you move on to the next section. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to another employee so we don't have to fill out every section there for you. And we're going to go look at John Smith here. And I have gone ahead and pre-filled out these sections here for us, including the employment and the pay information. Again, you're filling this all out as you go typically. And then once you get to the employee self-service setup, this is where you can choose the option for the employee. So we have three options here. This is the not allow online access. It is not something that's going to be typically used, but it is available as an option. If you select this, there will not be the opportunity for the employee to create a login after onboarding. The second option allows for the employee to self-set up after they've completed the onboarding process, choosing their own username and other personal information. Then there is the last option, which I believe is the most automated one, which is create login for employee. And what this does is after the onboarding process is completed, it automates an email to the employee based on the email that was in the eHire process and has them create their account through that. And you can choose the username type when doing this section here, either email, phone, or choose custom. I'm just going to select the allow employee self setup for now, and I'm going to click start eHire. And again, if you have multiple document groups here available for the onboarding process, you can select the necessary one for the employee and then start eHire. This will determine the documents that the employee fills out. Some of you may only have the one document group, so you don't really have to choose. Some of you may have multiple options depending on the employee type. I'm going to click Start eHire here. And this says an email has been sent to the employee to start the electronic hiring process. So let me pull up a screenshot for you here on what that looks like. This is an example of the email that the employee would receive. It's basically just a welcome email. It gives them a PIN number, which they will need throughout the onboarding process. And then, of course, there is a link to actually initiate their onboarding process. So it's very simple for them to get in and begin their eHire process. Once the employee goes through all of their sections, they fill out all of their information and complete their portion. You as the client will receive an email stating that the employee has finished their section, and you would be able to go in and verify the I-9. After you verify the I-9 and the hire is waiting for approval, it'll move over here to the hire waiting for approval section. When they're on this screen here, again, you have the option to approve via this review and approve, but you can also click on the eyeball and go through all of the information that was entered first. So you can scroll through all of this and view everything that was entered, make sure everything looks good. And then once you're done, we'll return here. And you can click on the little thumbs up to review and approve. And once you do that, it's a matter of simply approving. And for this particular one, the employee has a pay card requested. So it's just please contact your payroll department to get the pay card issued. That was a very top-down view of the employee section, the employee list, and employee onboarding. Thank you again for joining us today on this webinar. If you have any questions that weren't answered via the Q&A section, or if you think of any now that this is complete, again, please reach out via email to clientrelations@uniquehr.com. We look forward to hearing from you and hope you have a great day. Thank you.